Recording in progress.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today is November 12th, 2025. It is 5 p.m. We are located at the county building on the third floor in the council chambers. We appreciate everyone's attendance here. We have, as far as roll call, our county attorney, Scott Broadhead. As far as councilmen, we have Councilman Hoffman, Councilman Thomas, Councilman Strongberg, and Councilman Hamner. We have Councilman Wardle. I'm not sure where he went, but he's getting something. And then County Manager Andy Welch, Assistant County Manager Brittany Lopez, and Tracy Shaw, County Clerk. Thank you, each of you, for being here. Purpose why we're here is to go and talk about the budget, how we're going to have the budget publicly, what is being increased, what isn't, and for what purposes. With that, we have the following presentations as follows. I don't know if you have a list. Be the assessors, after the assessor, the attorneys, after that, auditor, clerk, treasurer, the airport, community development, health department, public buildings, roads, emergency services, county manager. We'll go in that order. Assessor, office.
I guess this one's on. Good. Just in case I start to.
Is that mic on?
It's green. Can you hear me? Okay. It has to be right in my face, apparently. Better? Okay. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you and bring some points out that we're requesting for this year. Before I go down into the budget presentation, I'd like to publicly thank the council for the training opportunities that you provide to us year after year, and the technology that you've allowed us to implement with modeling our properties and change detection that helps us with detailed review that we're required to do, and our commercial contract that I am eternally grateful for. That's helping us get set on a good path. A while ago, we had an issue that came up with personnel that I immediately went to Andy, our county manager, and talked with him about my concerns. And he met with our HR director, and within that day, it was settled. And that resulted in several conversations about the gaps that I felt like were in our office that I felt like we needed to go forward with. I talked with Andy several times, several hours at a time, thankfully, to help me work through those gaps and what really needed to fit into those gaps. Matt helped me understand some of the things that I needed to work with. Key positions are some of the things that came out of that. I have two positions in my office that are key positions, Cassandra's and Carrie's. Cassandra and Carrie both have integral processes that they do that are absolutely critical to the assessment role. Without them, we would be in big trouble in able to close our assessment role. And we don't have backup to those properties. Cassandra works 3 full-time jobs with her real property administrator. She is a supervisor, the data manager, as well as the real property administrator. And that's huge. The data, as you know, has just gone sideways with how many requests that we get. We're requesting as one of the key positions, the data manager. That data manager will shadow with Cassandra as we go through the year and run processes with her. It's our intention to hire someone that has a good experience base that can go forward with data management and take that piece of the pie from Cassandra so that she can concentrate on the other things that she needs to put more attention to. With Carrie's position, including supervising our appraisers. With Carrie's position, she's one person and handles the accounts that we have with personal property by herself. There's several accounts. We'll get into that in a minute, and I'll go through some figures that she's helped me provide. There's one person. We're on a new system now. Scott, with his best intentions and best abilities, did everything to possibly salvage and resuscitate the online personal property, which failed. She was required at that point, because there wasn't another option, to do everything manually. Over 2,000 accounts were invoiced and billed and taken care of and managed by Carrie this year manually. And we're on a new Puma system. In order to train with that and go through the new navigations, she needs a key position shadowing her through all of those accounts, working through the system together. These two positions are critical to our office. The appraiser trainee, this is someone that we're asking for another position for an appraiser because of all of the parcels. We have had significant growth, as you know, in Tooele County, and the appraisers are doing their best to keep up with it, but really, we only have 4 full-time dedicated appraisers to being out in the field and appraising and valuing and reviewing. And with the growth that we've experienced over the last 10 years, that's not enough. It's not sustainable. It hasn't been sustainable for years. When I was the State Tax Commission rep for this county, I actually came to Wendy and the commission and presented that they needed staff and raises at that time, and that still didn't take place, and that was almost 10 years ago. So that's something that we feel is key. The number of permits that are coming on, I looked at Jerry's recording today, and there's 32 approved subdivisions. He has 999 or something like that lots on his website that are approved. That means 1,000 parcels that are coming up that I've got to handle with the same staff that I have that are barely keeping up with what we have. So this would be training on site with them and getting the work done within the time frame we need to do it. The Greenbelt specialist would be hired as an appraiser one. We'll cross-train with them and assist them as they need. It's a clerical position. The Greenbelt position, for some reason, just went away. I can't explain it, and nobody else can to me either, so that's just the way it happened. But the appraisers are handling their own areas of Greenbelt, and you would think that would be okay, but the paperwork that's involved with Greenbelt, every time a parcel changes, every time somebody else owns it, every time something's rolled out, that takes a lot of paperwork. I have an appraiser who's over 25 years of experience that I need to put on new growth, that I need to put on our multi-housing, the apartments, and all the twin homes, and all of those things that are coming on, because they're easy to manage as long as you put them in the right group and you handle them appropriately. We haven't had time to do that. I want him on that full-time. The State Tax Commission also requested this. I know that's a letter that you read. The basis that we've used in the data that I've collected, Andy was able to provide some additional data from other states that we had. The last study was done in 2013, and the parcel count was a little over 3,000. And right now, as you can see in one of the other slides, we're way low from that. 4 counties that are competing with us right now, Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, and Weber are currently hiring. My appraisers have all been contacted. 3 of my appraisers work out of the county, so I am at risk. I've asked for that, and I appreciate this study that Andy's been talking about doing. I provided a lot of information from these counties that were so grateful and shared all of that with me so that you could see the comparison of where Tooele County is in relationship to those competitors. And so I'm still asking for that, but I understand that that's on the agenda, and I appreciate that effort going forward. Okay, let's talk numbers. So Tooele County has 7 staff for 34,260. It's actually grown since then. In 2015, we had 26,603 parcels. So we're increasing and continuing to increase. We talked about the properties and all of the things that they're doing and cross-training. I kind of jumped ahead of that, so that's my bad. Basically, they've done their best to stay on top of things and sustain, but it isn't sustainable, and it won't be sustainable with the growth that we're still experiencing. The governor slammed his fist on them and said, build, 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 and we're going to. So let's talk about the personal property on the next one. No, one more back, sorry, my bad. That one, thank you. Personal property accounts are 1,800, mobile home accounts are 1,000. The state assessed she is the assessor appointed that works with the coordinated offices of the auditors and the recorders. It's the auditor's office to put the numbers in and take care of the centrally assessed properties, but it takes all three offices to coordinate that. So that's one of the things. The handout that I gave you is what Carrie provided today to me. You can see that these are 2025 tax values that personal property gets, the calculated, or has assessed for this year. The calculated value and the taxes charged. None of these values include exempt parcels. That's what we're anticipating collecting, and that's what's been billed for the taxes this year. That's how important the personal property is to this county. And she's doing that by herself. If you'll go to the next slide, thank you. We feel like this is something that we can integrate right now as we're working through. I know it sounds like a lot, and you would think that 4 can't integrate into an office and it's too many. But when you've been short for that many years, it takes this long to catch up, and they're ready to go and working with the staff. And we're excited. I hope that you're able to see that vision. The skill sets that we're going to have, anytime you bring dynamics with new people, there's new visions, there's different perspectives. It creates the kaleidoscope that I want in that office. This is a great team, and they're dynamic, and this will just increase it. The cross-training that we do is integral to our office. It means that whoever comes in from the public, regardless of who's there that day, can handle that public. That's important to us. We serve the public, and that's something that we have worked really hard to do. Saving time and money and improving our morale. Most of our employees have over 300 hours of vacation. They are dedicated to this team, and they don't want to let their area slide, or me down, or the county down, or their taxpayers. They really do care. When that taxpayer comes in and says, I don't think you've got my property right, they want to have confidence to tell them, yeah, I do. Here's why. Let's talk about it. They can do that proficiently, professionally. That's what you want in this county. You want the assessment roll to be right. Any corrections that we make to the tax roll after that happens with appeals or corrections or things that come up affects the tax rate. We need to get it right the first time. That's what I'm trying to aim at with this staff. Accuracy is important. The use of technology that we've implemented, we talked a little bit about with the change detection, with the modeling, the things that we're doing, the value analysis that Cassandra improvised so that we weren't spending time going through 6 different people and waiting for the state to give us our sales information is now at our fingertips. They can run anything they need to with analysis right on their desktop. They can run it with somebody sitting at their desk that wants to see their neighbors and why it's adjusted the way it is. It helps us with the market modifications that we need to make to the cost system. The last one we're going to talk about just a little bit, the taxes. This is from the auditor's notice of valuation. All of us got this. I copied and pasted mine. So this is the pie and the pieces of the pie that go into this. The tax dollars on my personal taxes are 11.5%. The assessing and collecting of that piece, which isn't defined by that roll, is less than 3%. Mine was 2.71, which equated to $128 of my tax went to assessing and collecting. It's a really small piece of what the county collects, but it manifests greatly because it goes to the assessing and collecting fund, which funds the tax administration offices. From the recorder's office all the way to the auditor's office, all these offices have to work in tandem. It has to be something that's funded appropriately, staffed appropriately, so that there's no bottlenecks. If the recorder's office is behind, my office is behind. If my office is behind, Allison's office is behind, and then Mike's office is behind, and it's not fun. It's really difficult to work like that. We're really fortunate in Tooele County, and I speak from experience. I've worked in a lot of offices in the state, and Tooele County Tax Administration is one of the strongest, if not the strongest. We work together as a team and do that really well and support each other. If we use these funds to support that, Jerry talked a little bit about raising it. He threw out a figure of saying, if we start here, it's going to raise it 9% to 9%. It'd be $10 for real property owners, and it would be $30 for commercial owners. I know tax raise is not the favorite thing. Being second to last is not necessarily a good position if you're not funding the county appropriately. Accuracy is everything. If we get it right the first time, you're not going to have shifts. That's what I want to accomplish. The back one is from the property tax calendar, and it just gives you the flow of where the recorder's office is, their deadlines. You can see from January 30th to May 22nd, I have to have that roll done. I actually have to have it roll done earlier this year. State tax has told us that we need to have it by May 15th, which doesn't sound like a lot of difference between May 22nd, but when you're running error reports, that extra week matters. So pencils down on May 1st in our office, which is going to be a lot, but we're going to do it. So you can see how they all work in tandem. Everybody has to be on top of the game, or the tax notices don't go out on time and the tax bills don't go out on time. That's not something you can deal with. We're very fortunate. A lot of counties didn't close theirs until June and one in July. That's not even feasible. So know that I will never be in that position. I can promise you that. I will make it work otherwise. I don't want to estimate. I don't want all these permits to come online and not have the people to just go and say, all right, we're going to put an unimproved on this, and we're going to force a value in this, and then we'll get to it next year. I can't get to that point. There's too much to do. If I do that, I'll never catch up. Questions?
Council, please. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
You brought up about training and how thankful that the county affords training, funding, time. When do you have time to train if you're behind already?
The State Tax Commission helps us with that. I am very fortunate in that the State Tax Commission for new licensed appraisers does not charge us for that. They provide that training for us. They go to class. They take all of the required training at the State Tax Commission, and we work with them as they go throughout supervising. There's 3 certified appraisers in our office, including me. You have to be certified in order to be able to train someone that is not licensed, and even licensed has to have supervised with certified. The only ones that can sign an appraisal is a certified appraiser. And we have 3 in our office. We're very fortunate. That's really rare with a small office like ours.
So these new positions that you're hoping to get approved, they will be trained by one of the appraisers in the office currently.
They will train with all of us. So I will probably supervise this one for the first year and get them up to speed and running them. Cassandra, we have Adam and Rebecca that will be ready to take their test and licensed by next year. By the end of this year, if they get their stuff approved. Depends on the turnaround because they're a little slow on the DRE, the Division of Real Estate, excuse me, getting our appraisers their information back so they can take their test, but they're there. We've structured this to meet the needs of the office. Cassandra's going to be working specifically with her person. Carrie's got her person working specifically with her as she goes through the program and implements all the things that are needed. The Greenbelt person is going to train every time there's a Greenbelt, which is daily with whoever's working on that Greenbelt. So it can be any of the appraisers or all of the appraisers. They all have assigned. As far as the appraiser trainee, they will work in tandem with all of the appraisers. They'll go out, they'll help with the permit, with the data collection, with the entry as they go through. They'll do one, the trainee does one. I supervise.
Then you brought up one other point, is they're not using their vacation. They said they have 300 hours.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 that have over 300 hours, yes.
So why aren't they using their vacation?
They tell me, even though I have begged them and tried to get them to structure it so that they can take time off. When they take time off, they get so far behind, they get to the point where they end up working from home anyway. So they're still at the 300 hours for the most part. And Cassandra will never use hers. She just won't. Carrie won't be able to either. She didn't have time. She had 2,000 accounts to process or more. So they're going to lose time because they don't want to let the team down. They don't want to not do their job.
So if they were to take their time off, how do they get their appraisals done? How do they get it done? You mentioned estimating, was it? You
Estimate. So in many cases with offices that are short-staffed, which are, unfortunately, there's some offices that only have 1 to 2 employees and still have growth. If they can't get to all of the things that they're supposed to get to because they can't leave their offices because they're also doing motor vehicle, and that's very common, then they estimate based on the permit cost and don't do the data. That's another day they go and collect, or they hire somebody to come out and collect it for them if they can get the funding. That's what happens very frequently. I don't want that to happen in my office.
That's a little troubling to me is people aren't using their vacation, number one, they should use it. The other one, we're estimating instead of the appraisers go visit every parcel they're assigned.
Right now, they're visiting every parcel. That's why they have 300 hours on the book, because they don't want to do that. They want to turn their stuff in and have it all entered and done, because that's what we have. The tax flow, this office would not run as effectively as it does without the tax flow that Cassandra implemented years ago. The tax flow is key in many offices, and if you don't manage that so that you can keep on top of the work effectively, your office won't meet the goal. We still come up short, and truthfully, the last couple of years has been my fault because it's been me trying to get on top of the commercial. I'll totally own that.
Can I have one more last question?
You're only allowed, so, no, go ahead.
One last one. Explain to me about or to all of us, about the assessing and collection special tax that the state says we can assess that hasn't been raised for the last, I don't know,
10 years, I think.
10 years. That money is supposed to go to fund these positions, correct?
It's supposed to go to a fund, the 4 offices that are in the tax administration, the recorders, the assessors, the auditors, a portion of the auditors at least, and the treasurer's office. It should fund all those offices completely. If it doesn't, then the general fund has to pick that up. But it was set up years ago for that purpose, to do that.
So maybe it's a question for Andy. So if we do raise the tax rate, we're late this year to do that, we'd have to advertise, we're gonna raise this?
You would have to do it, yeah. We missed the deadline this year. You have to, October 1st is the deadline. And in considering that, you should really consider doing that in June. When you wait until fall, it's not as communicated. People have their notices in June, and they're more on top of it, and there's more discussion that can take place. I told Andy, I'm all over speaking for this, and I really will be a face for this if you want me to be.
Well, thank you, John.
Any other questions, council? Oh, Chair recognizes Councilman Wardle.
So, was it Josh Nelson's email?
Yes,
It's, I'm bringing it up with almost everyone.
that's fine.
If we were to scale the hirings, would it mitigate the concerns that Josh Nelson brought up in his email?
No. Oh, well, no, because it's still, for 10 years, Tooele County has been recommended to increase its staff.
So I'm struggling with this because Jake recommended when we came on he did a staff reduction and said that it would operate, and we heard nothing from the State Tax Commission. Now we're looking at this other upswing. So are you saying that we need to hire all 4 to mitigate Josh's concerns?
I'm saying that, yes.
Okay. I think the second question is the State Tax Commission sending these same emails to the counties who did not comply this year?
It depends on the circumstance. So they did an oversight recommendation, and it was basically a pass-fail, and if you didn't meet exactly the requirement, it was, this is something that's coded yellow and you need to do better with it, and you need to take steps to take direction so that you can meet this next year. My step to meet this next year is this.
So if we were to scale it, do you have a plan on how we should scale it? I mean, we're looking at 4 hirings. If we were to do it over the course of 2 years or 3 years, do you have do you have the
That's hard.
positions? Could you maybe, not tonight, but could you just rattle through that a little bit and see?
Yes,
Because I think we have to have some options.
I understand that.
Mr. Nelson hasn't replied to some of our requests, and I'm struggling with that. His data was bad.
I can tell you that over the past career that I've had with the 17 years I was with State Tax Commission, we did this religiously for counties. I presented many times to councils saying this is something that here's the workload, here's the number of people you have, you're not going to meet it with the days you have to do this.
And I love data, but his data was 15 years old. I would
I
appreciate
know.
an industry standard that's within the last 5 years.
I can't, the study that the past commissioner did, independent of the commission, of course, was something that was very in-depth. The reason that it doesn't get done very often, because the previous study was in the 80s that we were using, is because it's so difficult to take that kind of data from all different types of realms and make it standard. You can't compare Wayne County to Washington County, ever. It would not work.
But I think you're asking us to do that with some of the slides you showed us tonight.
It maybe, if you look at it that way. So apples to oranges in that the competitors that I mentioned, Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, Weber, are not third-class counties, but they are my competitors. They are where my appraisers would go.
I didn't communicate well enough. It was San Juan. It was the slide that had San Juan and the parcels per county.
Those are third-class counties.
Yeah, and so what I'm wondering though, is that when we are comparing the counties, I'm trying to get to a place where I can see what a standard is, because we're at 4,000 and something. I think Wasatch was at 5,000.
Yeah.
What is, Josh's data doesn't work for me because he won't answer our questions. And so what I'm looking at is, what is the appropriate average per appraiser or analyst so that we know when we are meeting the standard?
The study was based on total staff versus the parcel count.
Okay.
If you look at it as the number of appraisers that are actually, which is the study that the State Tax Commission that I represented when I went to the offices, I have this many full-time dedicated appraisers to do this many parcels. If I do that, the residential appraisal parcels in this county are going to be around 32,000, because we have to do exempt as well. Commercials, just about 2,000 parcels, a little bit over. 32,000 residential, which means that they have to make sure that their market every year, they have to review them once every five years, and they have to pick up all the new permits, regardless of whether it's new growth and a new permit or the other. So if you're looking at apples to apples, it would be the 4 full-time dedicated appraisers to 32,000 parcels, if you want to calculate it that way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being willing to answer.
You're welcome.
Turn, Scott.
My glasses.
Scott may need those. No.
I probably will. Okay, so for the attorney's budget, so we also have the CJC and the public defenders, so my part of the budget's pretty fast, so I'll not take a lot of time. We're doing fine on personnel. I don't expect we're gonna need any staff increases for a couple of years. I think the only thing that the handout on what's on this line, Andy says he fixed the one line that I was mostly concerned about, which is the books, publications, and subscriptions. That as long as you move that up to the 21,000, then frankly, I don't hardly have anything to say. Westlaw, the reason that went up so much is, number one, just general costs. Number two, we added AI features. And number three, we had to add users. And that's what added the big bump in the subscription costs. Other than that, I don't really have anything to say about the attorney budget unless you have questions. The other line item, the district court budget, when we hired Jake Linares, one of the fallouts was that he was the attorney on 2 murder cases, so we had to conflict those out to the Attorney General's office. They graciously said, we'll do that, but hey, you gotta pay us $5,000 per case to cover the costs. So that's why that district court budget needs to be increased, so we can pay the Attorney General's office for that. If you don't have any questions about that, I'll let Rachel go, and then Corey's behind waiting to go. Good? Okay.
Hi guys, Rachel Cowan, Children's Justice Center. Just a little recap I'm sending over. My budget is quite easy also. The total amount reimbursable from the state for me, my budget from the state runs July 1st to June 30th. So as of July 1st of 2025 until June 30th of next year is $231,856. That's what I get from them. Possibility of an additional $35,000. They have one-time funds that they are trying to get. And I asked them if they could help me with some of the things that I'm going to be asking you guys for in this budget, which I also included the COLAs and merit increases, even though normally we don't go back to the state for those. And my victim advocate forensic interviewer right now is a part-time employee, and we'd like to move her to 3/4 time. Just with court demands, she gets subpoenaed quite often into Salt Lake and Murray and Ogden and sometimes Tooele, and just kind of all over the place. Any interview that she does, she has that chance of being subpoenaed for that. So between the interviews going up and court time and prepping for court time, plus she is a state forensic interview trainer throughout the whole state. We have one of the best in the state here, so that's good. So we're just hoping to bump her hours just a little bit from 29.5 hours to, we decided to do 1,800 hours, so an average of 34.5 hours. And of course she would work a little less and a little more depending on the week and what is happening. So, so I have that possibility of an additional $35,000 to help with some of those offset costs, even though that's actually more than I need to offset those costs. But I won't know that till probably January or February because the state is on an opposite budget from us. I decreased our travel and training by $6,000. I try to do the majority of my budget off the money that we get from the state, except for like utilities and services. The county has paid for that for us for a long time. And then just bumping, and benefits for all 3 of us also gets paid for by the county. But I try to do the majority of my budget off of the money that I get from the state. So we decreased our travel and training by $6,000. We had to increase our utilities and services just because we all have those bills at home. We know that those services are going up. I decreased my mental health funds by $2,000 because we haven't been using, we have about $10,000 every year, and we've been using between 6 and 8. So decrease that. And then the last item there is just bringing back to the employee that I'm trying to get a few more hours. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions, council?
Thank you.
Well, I think I can be pretty fast as well. I'll pass these out, huh? I think these are all, are my slides in here?
I didn't see that.
Okay, that's okay, that's all right here.
Thanks, Corey.
So, I'm not great with numbers, I'll be honest, so hopefully they're all kind of in here and make sense. But one thing I do want to point out, if you look at our spending per capita in Tooele, we are dead last in the county as far as what we're spending per capita from our system on defense stuff. So you can see on the next slide a per capita of all the counties and then a per capita just on 3rd-class counties. We've been slowly inching up each year. I mean, not a lot. We've kept our requests pretty minimal. But honestly, I don't think we're headed in the right direction if we don't keep going up at least a little bit. I think I've been probably more modest than I should have been over the last few years in asking for things, especially when I get hit with data by the IDC. So the IDC is who helped me prepare these. you know, I think we have a really good defense team in Tooele, and we're lucky to have that because they stay here, they're loyal, they're committed. But it's really hard as we lose positions and we grow for us to bring people from Salt Lake. You have pretty much every attorney that lives and has an office in Tooele also doing a defense contract. As we lose those defenders, it's really hard to replace them with the pay that we have in Tooele. When they're already local, it's less of an ask for them, and they're willing to do it, and they've done it for so long. We have good relationships. It's a pleasant job. Like I don't think anybody hates it. And so that's how we're able to keep those. But as we've expanded into having to pull people from Salt Lake, it is harder. They get stuck in traffic. They don't have an office for clients to meet at. I'm covering their cases a lot because they're like, hey, I just have one case. Will you cover it for me? We just do not get the same quality of work as we do with the local people. And so the only other thing I'll say is when I went to law school, I didn't even pay attention in my criminal law class. The last thing in the world I was going to do was criminal defense. I was like, I want nothing to do with criminal defense. As a local attorney, I kind of got sucked into one of the contracts, and I truly love it. I see the value of it. It's easy to think that, like, why are we spending money on defense? But it truly, if you have competent defense attorneys in the courtroom who care about these clients, they get in a better spot faster. They get good advice. You get people through the system faster when they get good advice. We get them into programs because we care about them. We know the resources. We can negotiate deals. We can skip a ton of trial costs, right? Tooele's trials are way down compared to other counties in general. We're trending up, but they're way down, and that's a lot of it because of our defense team that works well with everybody. But our team works hard. I'd love to see them make more. I've done all the contracts in the county for defense, and our average pay per district court contract is, I think, I have the exact number, I'll put up in a sec. It's like $347 per case. We're like second to last for what we're getting paid per case. So we have a good team. We ask a lot of them, and I'd like to see them get at least the COLA increases. I'd like to be able to get them new laptops. We've been hoping to do that for the last few years. And then we have added like a half of a position to help decrease caseloads a little bit for everybody else. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Chair recognizes Councilman
No, but I got
Thomas.
one comment. Corey's on our CJCC committee, and it is a good, well-functioning, and she's enthusiastic there, and we talk about a lot of things that we're doing right in Tooele County. So thank you for your involvement and for being so,
You bet.
making a difference.
Well, and one thing I'll add to that is every other county pretty much has a full-time person that just manages. I have a full caseload plus, because I end up covering stuff for everybody else, to be honest. It just sort of happens. The CJC was there's no additional pay for that, right? You just show up at these, but we've added pretrial services, gets people out of jail, that saves costs. I don't have the numbers on all that, but I mean, I think we know from a broad perspective, you get people out of jail and there's money saved. They don't lose their jobs, they don't lose their housing. So we've done a lot there, and it's been really good for the county, so thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Wardle.
So I appreciate you wanting to move the needle. How much will this increase move the needle?
I mean, barely. We're still gonna be dead last.
If we could, over the next year, it would be really helpful for us to have a strategic plan on how to look at this, because we are gonna grow.
Yes.
Caseloads are gonna grow. Defenses are the hallmark. We are innocent till proven guilty. And I think on both sides of the judiciary, we've got to make sure that we're covering the bases. So if we could get help with that, I don't know how much more it would cost us to do that, but that would be helpful.
Yeah, no, I'm new to asking for money.
Yeah.
I have been in private practice my whole life. This is a new, difficult thing for me to ask for money, but now now that I'm the head of a team, I have to. So I'm happy to, and the IDC is very helpful.
Yeah.
I could probably have them prepare more data for us and get that projected for
That
us
would be
to
really
grow
helpful.
accordingly. So, okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Maybe if I can just say one more invitation here. It's this Thursday. We have our CJCC meeting, and anybody who wants to come, it is very informative, And it's gotta be right up your alley. You enjoy being in that, and you get a pretty good sandwich out
You
of it.
get a good sandwich. I am missing this one because I've got drug court training, so we're spread a little bit thin. So I normally am there. I have to miss one because we gotta learn drug court too. Thank you.
Thank you. Otter McCoy.
All right, Council, I have a few topics that you've asked me to cover tonight, so I'm just going to hit them briefly. First thing that I want to go over is the duties of the Auditor's Office. There's several things that the Auditor's Office is responsible for. The first one is the auditor is the finance officer for the county. So that means that we do the budget, we do financial statements, we do accounting services, and we do accounts payable. We also, as the others have mentioned, we help in the property tax system. So we take care of all the abatements. We are the clerk for the Board of Equalization, and we do many state reports throughout the year. And then we also do internal auditing, and that can be anything from official audits that the council asks us to do to much less formal audits, such as like accounts review, walking through processes, vendor and grant, and contract compliance. Right now, there's 4 people in our office. There's the elected auditor. The idea with the elected auditor should be that that person can rotate in and out because we all know that that's not a guaranteed position. And then the rest of the staffing should be able to function and hold that staff together. I would say that this is true with all of our elected officials. I currently work as an employee in our office. I don't just go out and kiss babies. I'm actually doing a function and a job in our office, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it means that if I am not elected again, I take institutional knowledge with me when I go. Of course, I'm willing to share that because I know that this position isn't my position to keep. But we have found ourselves in situations where that's been difficult with other elected offices because when the elected official acts as an employee within that office, and you have that risk of turnover every 4 years, it does make things difficult. So the idea of the elected official within the offices should be that they have the management and vision for the office. But right now, I'm currently working in the day-to-day operations for all areas. Next, we have our finance coordinator. Ideally, they would do accounting services, and I have accounting services on there. That is an actual term that's in our statute, so that's why it says accounting services. Right now, the finance coordinator is currently doing accounting services, internal audit, and abatements. The next one that we have is our finance specialist with tax duties. Right now, she's doing AP and property tax. In any other department, there wouldn't be any other finance duties with that job, but we recognize that we're a small office, and so we have her doing those AP duties as well. Property tax takes a lot of her time. For example, she's been working with the assessor's office to wrap up the Board of Equalization, and I would say, I know on Friday night she worked until after 6 o'clock, and so it's an extremely busy job for her. And then the last one that we have is our internal auditor with accounting. Right now, this person does internal auditing with accounting services, and that we hope to continue that. You'll recall that John Hatterley with Larson was here, and he had this quote. He said, auditors don't spend enough time in their auditor role. They're doing what we do on an annual basis, but more intimately. And they can do a lot more things. They can look at processes and other things that we aren't here all the time looking at. And that's what the auditor's role should be, is helping the departments run efficiently and accurately. And that's something that my staff and I pride ourselves on, is that we do try to be very customer-oriented or customer service-oriented to the departments. We recognize that we are here to serve the departments. And sometimes we have to have those hard conversations, but we do try to always do it with learning in mind and knowing that as technology gets better, processes get better. And so I just want to make sure that we remember that the auditors have talked to us about how important this is. One of the other topics that you asked me to discuss was our debt. We have 3 loans our bonds out right now. The first one is with the airport. The payoff amount on that is $263,000. Seems like a small amount that we would just pay off, but right now the airport, like we've mentioned, doesn't have the cash flow to be able to just to pay that off. It's a relatively small amount. Payment-wise, it's about $15,000 a year. And so until we have the cash flow to do that, it's fine to continue how we're doing it for now. The other one that we have is the jail. The payoff date on that is 2037. It does have an optional call in December of 2027, and the interest rate on that right now is 4%. And then the last one that we have is for the peak. Interest rate on that is 5% with an optional call in 2031. Just a couple of other things to go over. We have the general admin revenue and expenses. These are revenue and expenses that don't necessarily tie to a specific department, or they benefit multiple departments, and so it doesn't make sense, or it would skew the financials to show them tied to a department. So for example, I could go ahead, or the treasurer's office could go ahead and take the property taxes in our department, because we do look at those regularly and kind of manage those, but then it would show that the auditor's office has $7 million a year in revenue, and that's not an accurate way to report the expenses for our department. And so that's where the revenue and expenses, when they're categorized as general, that's kind of what we're getting at, is it would inflate the budget of a department or inaccurately show the budget of a department if we tied that to them. As far as the general fund transfers, there's general fund transfers that are in and out, but those won't be finalized until the budget is finalized. They're mostly finalized now. This is because it sort of depends on what those transfers are tied to. So for example, we have a transfer out to the aging fund. If there's any changes, if we change the budget in the aging fund at all, that changes the transfer in the general fund. And so they're 100% tied to each other, just like a scale is. I mentioned this when I delivered the tentative budget, that as far as impact fee goes, we do need to do some revision of our impact fee reports. There's been some, I would say, more focus on the impact fees and the way that they're being reported from the state. And so it'll be important for us to be as general and all-inclusive in our reports as possible, so that we make sure that our impact fees can be used as efficiently as possible. If we don't use our impact fees, we're required to pay back the individual who paid the impact fees within 7 years. So if you had a builder that came in and paid an impact fee and we weren't able to show what project specifically we tied that impact fee to, we have to track that person down and give them back their impact fee. And so it's going to be a process that we need to make sure that we're really on top of. In the budget, there's a mass transit line. This mass transit line is the required matching fund or the tax that we get that allows us to have the ability to participate in the UTA program. I've got this bottom impact fees is actually supposed to be municipal service. Municipal service fee has a transfer to the general fund, and this allocation is based on the services of the departments that are involved with providing services to the unincorporated areas. So this is any of the departments, like the sheriff's, weeds, fire, those have the largest allocation. For example, the sheriff is a 60% allocation to the municipal service fund. And then supporting departments like IT, the attorney's office, my office, things like that. Those allocation numbers have been long-standing numbers. The other way that we can do that is we can pay for a professional study to come up with those allocation numbers. And at some point, we may want to look into doing that. The last thing that, to discuss is the Recreation Special Service District. We have an annual allocation from the mineral lease funds that we receive of $150,000 to the Recreation Special Service District. They act as a separate entity from the county. So we transfer that money to them, and then they give out recreation grants as decided on by their board. Any remaining funds from those mineral lease funds go to the roads department. Any questions?
Any questions for Auditor McCoy? Thank you.
I have one quick question.
Oh,
One of them, Allison, on the UTA, the mass transit. is that something that's paid closer to the end of the year? I was just looking at where we were kind of year to date, and it seems it's awfully low, but is that something we true up at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Is that typically what
Yep.
happens then? Okay, I wasn't sure why it was so low at this point, but that makes
Yep.
perfect sense then.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just maybe one. On the jail, would it be, is it worth it to pay it off earlier? I know you said 4% interest.
I would say now with where rates are, I mean, it just depends on what our ultimate goals are over time. We could. We wouldn't be able to do anything until the call date anyway, until our call date without penalties. And so it wouldn't be something that we would look at right now, but we kind of see in the future. So.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. The clerk and elections budget is rather static, so that's good news. There's only a few small areas where we're looking at the need for a little bit of an increase based largely on this newly passed legislation that I have displayed on the screen for you, declaring that we need to have lines for voting no longer than 30 minutes. And if you'll recall, at the presidential election in 2024, they were considerably longer than that. A learning curve for me, for sure, as a first presidential election, but I feel like that can easily be mitigated with a little bit of equipment to help speed up the lines. We did notice several single points of failure as part of that helped to contribute to that problem. So as part of this budget, I have presented like a 3-year plan that equates to about $24,000 over the next 3 years, including a new electionware PC that we're required and mandated by the state to purchase this next year. The state may help with some funding on that. It's just really a guessing game. We won't know because they operate on that different fiscal year as well. But I've planned for it in the event that that funding doesn't come through, that we're still required to fund that. But every year, it's hard to know how much an election is going to cost. We do our best to project. I mean, the election line itself is a little bit higher because we have a even year election with the big county races, so there'll be more expense there. But that's normal and in line with where we have been historically. But if I do have funds left over at the end of each year, then I will do my best to mitigate purchasing these things earlier. I think I may have some funds even this year to help take down this equipment plan, but it's just a kind of a guessing game when I never know how many voters are going to show up to vote or how many hours it's going to take to process. But we do our best to throw a dart cleanly at the board as best we can based on that data. The only other area that I'm really asking for anything is in an effort to follow the council's directive to utilize AI within our offices. I'm trying to do so with our marriage licensing system. I've received a quote from a company that is supposed to be partnering with Tyler Technologies to automate a lot of the digitization that we need with our marriage licenses to get them all into one pot. We've used multiple softwares over the course of my time here, and trying to get everything into one pot is really critical and key. And our staff are doing that right now. Every day they're working on that one by one. You know, that's a permanent record that we've had since the dawn of the county. And so those never go away, and they just continue to grow. But this $8,000 that I'm asking for would ultimately save somewhere around 7,300 hours of data entry that the team is currently doing, which we will continue to do because it's an important project and needed, but obviously having the help of some technology could speed that process up. But outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. Any additional questions for me?
Any questions, council, for our clerk?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. I was joking with Andy earlier today that I was going to give you 30 slides to look at for my 8-line budget tonight, but we'll forego those. The overall budget in my office outside of salaries and benefits is only changing about $1,600 this year. I didn't ask for a little bit more on overtime, but after talking with Andy and how salaries would be calculated, then my concerns for that overtime were negated. So other than that, we're just asking for a small increase in a line item for our tax notices next year. I'm already at the amount that I've requested for this year, so we'll just look to increase that line item. And with that, that's the majority of the treasurer's budget.
Any questions for the treasurer? Comments? Yuvarian, thank you.
I'll do this.
You'll do airport?
If I can jump in for our airport manager, has family issues that she's working at right now, so she needs to be where she's at. So they're not asking for any additional employees at this time. As you know, we've had this discussion last couple of years with the commercial flights that departed Wendover, that they're operating on a thin line right now. And so based on what happens in the year, typically not with fuel sales, that will kind of determine what happens. And so they're projecting about $110,000 loss this year. When they get these big military exercises, which typically come every other year, we get a bump, and then we get a trough, then a bump, then a trough. And you can't guarantee that's going to continue to happen, but we've been fortunate to have that. And of course, fuel sales and the prices of fuel, that's the big variable there. Weather and the military training that they do is something that some of those things they can't do anything about. So they're currently in okay shape, but they're on our watch list to continue to look at. And if you look at the grants that they do receive, some of the capital projects, which is here, I think the top three are federal grants for the apron pavement maintenance. You can see the total cost, the grants that we do receive, the tractor mower accessory. Then the difference that we do have to cover is the difference in the runway. If you look at how much we get for $892,000 in projects that cost the county $19,000, airports do receive a lot of money from the feds. And then this last one, I believe, was approved by this is the water line?
By the CEO board.
Yeah, by the CEO board. So that is a grant that we approve. So this is the airports, and it's kind of a status quo budget for now. Any questions?
Questions for Andy on the airport? No, thank you, Andy.
No problem. Rochelle will have a spokesman because you probably won't be able to hear her.
No, we can't. Stephanie Eastburn with Community Development, speaking for Rochelle. So for community development, we include GIS and economic
the mic on?
development as well. Can you hear me better now?
Just pull it right to you, yeah.
Better? Okay, so for community development, we're requesting a promotion for our GIS administrator to GIS manager. And requesting reevaluation of Public Works Inspector to add floodplain manager and compensation. For projects and purchases, for 33rd Parkway, $6.5 million. The transportation plan update to include UDOT connectivity plan and safe streets for all recommendation, $100,000. Requesting a new pickup truck to replace the inspector truck for $55,000. For community development, the overall expenses for 2026 are estimated to be about $130,000 less than 2025. We are requesting more in training due to several employees working on various certifications to better serve our community and our specialized roles. We're requesting an increase in professional and technical services due to the engineering contract needing to rebid and the addition of LSI grant writing services. For GIS, the overall expenses are estimated to be about $20,000 less from 2025, but including an increase in training and the promotion for the GIS administrator. For economic development, the overall expenses for 2026 are estimated to be approximately $560,000, which is a decrease from 2025. Any questions?
Rochelle would love to answer questions.
Any questions or comments? Nope.
Just as an aside, there's just that one project on the 33rd Parkway. As you recall, a couple months ago now, you approved putting in the culverts. And so we've started that process. So that is being done.
It's under construction.
Under construction. And then UDOT is supposed to use the grant, $1.5 million grant that we received, plus the money that we've been setting aside for a number of years to complete that project, which will go from 36 to Sheep Lane. Is that correct?
Yes.
very much needed too,
Absolutely.
further growth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Really appreciate opportunity to be here, and I appreciate the honor to serve the county, and also appreciate the warm welcome that I've received. Almost a year that I've been here, so next month. So a few things I want to highlight here, and oh, sorry, just getting ready there, right? So we've really honored to join just such a great team at the health department. Here we list out the various things just as a reminder. You can see how our budget does include all the different divisions here within the categories of health, and then transportation, aging, and prevention, all within the larger health department. And you know, just really exciting to, you know, just today, for example, we had calls about botulism in potentially in infant formula and bats in elementary school. So wide variety of things, right? And so thankfully we have just a vast, just a variety of skills in our team, and then also a well-connected team with, say, state health department, other experts that we can call on as needed. So first category to highlight with you is our personnel requests. Under health, we are asking to advance one health educator from grade I to J. The reason for this is we're trying to have layers of support for our different key positions. One is our public information officer. So as news happens, we want to be responsive to that, but also we want to be proactive wherever possible. So for example, anticipating flu season starting right about now. I was on a call today, for example, hearing about influenza A cases doubling at one of our healthcare systems over the last 2 weeks. And so routine things like that we can plan for. And so having a backup PIO or public information officer has been proved to be very helpful. So that person's already acting in that role, but to show that, to have the job description match the pay. We're asking for this increase of $5,550 from our health grants and health fund balance to pay for that increase. Somewhat similar, our emergency planner who works underneath our emergency response coordinator, we're asking to increase that person from grade F to G. That person has expanded responsibilities. We've expanded their responsibilities, has involved advanced certificates and trainings. There's a basic and advanced FEMA course that this person has completed, and it's really helped our whole team be more prepared and more organized. One thing that I see as a newcomer is how we at times lean on Salt Lake capacity for things like emergency planning as a health department, but really we're wanting to stand on our own feet as well, and then be a team player so that Salt Lake can call on us as needed too. Next section.
One quick question,
Oh,
Grant,
yes.
on that last one. Is that Kendall's grandson in that picture?
Oh,
He was looking at it. I was like, that is your grandson there, right in the middle, holding the picture.
going on there, yes. So yes, under the health educator's position, right, our RAD PAC, part of our youth coalition, preventing alcohol use and substance abuse, so.
Does that go from grade failing to grade good? Is that all?
There's been some good tutoring, improving grades.
You said that the scale is circular.
Oh, certainly, oh, wow. Don't strive for the top there, you just end up at the bottom after that, huh? No, good clarifications, thanks for both of those. So under aging, we're requesting to move 3 part-time employees to half-time. Appreciate the chance to clarify that, Andy. 1 is Meals on Wheels driver, 2 are food preparation workers. You can see the differences in our Meals on Wheels meals from fiscal year 2019 to this last fiscal year, about double. And so that doubling actually has been a plateau. So it was in 2020 when that double actually happened, and then it's been a plateau since then. So from 2020 to 2025. Not as dramatic of an increase, but still an increase in a similar plateau for congregate meals for our aging services. And so just trying to meet the expanding needs of our growing aging population, that's the reason for these asks. This request would require approximately $30,000 from the general fund. Next slide, please.
Is that in
Oh, yes.
addition to the general you already get?
This would be an addition, yes. So, is that way to, so in addition to what we already received from the general fund.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
I should.
some clarity there. So aging and transportation, is that all are subsidized by the general fund? So any additional requests are coming from the general fund, in essence, so.
Versus the health department budget itself, like what's called health, we do have our own fund balance, our own
Your own tax that you collect.
So, but we do have to partition those. And the voice from behind me, I should have recognized, my apologies. So we have Tracy Beckett, our business manager, and also Jamie Zwerin, deputy director. So really part of the team effort here, and I'm still learning every day. So, such is public health though. So, thank you. Under projects, first of all, transportation, as was mentioned, a separate part of our budget. So the request here is to, this project is to run fiber optic cable from the CJC building over to the transportation garage. We are concerned about liability and in particular safety and security there with being a high traffic area, also just different hours of the night because of the different businesses that are just next door. And so that fiber optic cable, IT has told us that's what is needed to have digital locking and camera systems in that area, just to know if something is reported, if someone trips and claims that something happened on the property there. We just want to have that documentation as to what actually happened. And so that is a request for $36,000 from the general fund. And so, yeah, again, IT has clarified what is required there and the amount. Next part, under aging, request for a 6-bay carport for Meals on Wheels vehicles. The concern here is especially during the winter, safety risk for drivers just getting started in the morning with winter weather. Of course, year-round, it would help with sun damage and just helping sustain those vehicles. But the particular concern is that safety and just helping they can get started safely and on time to get those meals out, those warm meals out to our older adults. So that's a request of about $26,000 from general fund. Another request is asphalt in the parking lot where the sheds were removed. Maintenance has recommended that. That's a request of $10,000 from the general fund. And then on the right there is the new HVAC. So as you all know, probably better than I do, and have a photo there at the bottom, Tooele Senior Center is aging in itself. So sorry about that. But yeah, thank you. But seriously, the maintenance, right? It's just it's not an efficient system right now. It's needing that both in the center of the building and the west side of the building. And so maintenance has requested this estimate here, and the request is $41,000. Some of that from last year's CIP account.
It was on our budget this year and maintenance didn't do it, so we could roll that forward.
So rolling forward from 25 to 26. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, next, please. Under equipment on the health side, we use part of the community, not the community center, in the city offices in Wendover, Utah. We have our Women, Infants, and Children WIC clinic there, but also administer immunizations on a regular basis there. And our concern about immunizations is we want to be able to keep those certain batches there. Sometimes electricity is not as reliable there, and concern of losing that and it being wasted because those immunizations do need to be maintained at a set temperature at all times. We have alarms set up for that to know if they do go out, because we do need to dispose of the batch if the power does go out or that temperature fluctuates. So this is a request of $20,000 based on a bid and that would be from our health grants and our health fund balance. Back to aging. So 2 parts here. One is an updated sound system for the Tooele Senior Center. Our seniors, our older adults do need to be able to hear things clearly, and it's been consistently reported as muffled and it's hard to understand through the sound system. And so this would be $5,000 from the general fund. And then second part there is we have outdated touch screens and they just haven't been reliable. And so that's $6,000. That's how the older adults check in, and is that how they get their meals set up? Yes. So
Whatever activities that they're doing.
and activities as well. So that's used on the daily basis. So overall, reminder about our vision to have healthy and safe communities where everyone can reach their full potential, and striving to model that as health department employees too.
Any questions or comments, council?
Just one quick comment, if I could. One of the numbers we know we may have to look at more for the air conditioning, that's to put a new air conditioning on. I think we have swamp coolers right now. I was just talking to our facilities manager today. Mm-hmm. And like we learned on this building, it's not as easy as just putting one on your roof because the building may not support it. And so that would be something we'd have to investigate. We haven't done that yet, but we'd have to look at whether or not it could handle the load. And so that's something, there may be an extra cost if that is required. So
Yes.
just to be
And
upfront.
good point about what is there now, the swamp coolers, that's part of the problem. It's not an efficient system now.
Correct.
Thank you.
For that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Grant.
Good evening, council. So our budget this year has actually decreased as far as operations and maintenance, largely due to the fact we put brand new equipment pretty much everywhere. We've probably done 60 rooftop units in the last 2 years, 4 boilers, air conditioners, the whole works. So as far as maintenance goes, we're doing preventative maintenance now instead of reactive maintenance to something that's broke down. So that's part of why the budget's gone down. Our overtime budget has gone way down. We're not getting called out to the jail nearly as much. We were getting called out over and over and over. So I appreciate that, and you guys working with us on replacing all the equipment. Capital projects for this year, we'd like to finish this building. As far as the major components that are done, we do have some flooring for a couple of the offices, the roof liner on the upper portion of the roof, and we're going to update or remodel the archive building and try to make that into a working shop for facilities.
Do you know which one the archive building is? The building right out here,
Parking lot, yes.
which we've moved most of the archive stuff out of it now, so it's.
Yeah, it's cleaned out. We're gonna have to have an engineer come look at it, see what we can do with it. There's also an issue of some mold in there that we're gonna look at. So we also want to remodel our break room here in the county building. And like I said, replace the carpet and recorder's office. I saw the slide for the people up there, but we have, no, you're fine.
Have them in a different order, I'm so sorry.
You're okay. So we have 10 and a half people, 10 full-time, 1 part-time. We're not asking for any more this year, any additional. But a note on that is we may have to hire 2 in the near future, because I'm actually the youngest one in our department and I'm old. So I can have guys retire anytime. They could just up and walk out the door and say, I'm done. I would like to get somebody hired to kind of piggyback with them. You guys know Darren Cook, our electrician. He knows these buildings inside and out, the electrical parts, components of it. I would like to get somebody hired as an apprentice with him. That's something to look at in the future, probably for 2027. Same thing as far as maintenance specialists. We're all getting up in the years, and I know there's a couple of them on countdown. One's got 18 months, one's got 3 years. So I'd like to hire a young younger person to learn the systems as well. New person, yes, a new person. So that's kind of where we're at with the budget this year. Any questions?
Any questions or comments?
Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
just a quick comment. So we did do the facility study, and we're just trying to start to fulfill that study and go through the list of projects and start to go down and do those as best we
Yes.
can, so.
Yeah. We have some concrete that we need to replace, but it's worked into some of the budgets, so we can do that, so, as we go through the facility studies, so.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good evening, council. Thanks for allowing me to present for you tonight. The road department has a big year in front of us and a lot of good goals this coming year. I would like to start out by saying that what we are asking for tonight is within a balanced budget and a very healthy fund balance. So we were able to do that. Starting out, we are requesting one position, which would be an office manager position. That role would help with department safety, CIP projects, grants, project support, asset management, liaison, and help with budgeting and finance. The department has grown quite a bit over the last few years, and I think this is a position that would really secure up areas that we are a little weak and could use the help.
Jed, can I just add one thing to the people? One of the things that we did last year is we moved weeds just functionally under the roads supervisor. And so this year we're requesting to move the budget too with that. And so as he's asking for a person, there's some additional help to make sure that we, as they pulled in another department, to make sure. That's one piece I didn't see that you had on there, but.
Yes.
So where does the funding come for that?
From the roads, they'd be a combined budget under the roads department.
So because it's restricted, it comes from.
Correct, yep. Other counties do that. I've talked to other counties as well.
Yep.
I think we used to do that, if I'm not mistaken.
We did. Yeah, it works within the framework of the budget restrictions, so. As far as capital projects this coming year, we put together a project which is in addition to what we normally do for preventative maintenance of 2-inch overlay for approximately 10 miles on various county roads. I'll get into what roads we're going to be proposing those on. We still have the preventative maintenance projects, which are chip seal projects that we will be performing in-house. Pavement preservation projects on various roads throughout Lake Point and Erta. The Ibapaw roadway reconstruction project, which is a $18.2 million project, is ready to award to the contractor. That one's all teed up and ready to go. Design, everything's there. We just need to award it. Pre-construction meeting, start construction early of 2026. Weed department is pretty static in their budget this year, but they will continue to work on invasive species mitigation, maintenance, and countywide noxious and obnoxious weed spraying and mowing, as we've done in the past. Capital equipment this year, purchases for the weed department, we are going to split the cost of a forklift that will help with weeds and parks over in the new facility that was recently built. We have 2 one-ton trucks. One is in the road department. It's 2011 F-350, and one is in the weed department, which is a 2011 F-250. They both have high mileage at 105 to 150,000 miles on each of them. We also have a transport truck. That truck is a 2000. International Eagle and has 273,000 miles. And then we also have a 1997 Cat loader that we are wanting to replace, which is a little past due.
Those 1-ton trucks, do they tow a lot of things? Is that why you need 1 tons or?
They do. The one for the road department has a dump bed on it, and we use that for smaller projects like 3-ton asphalt projects, things like that, where you wouldn't want to necessarily haul the asphalt in with a 10-wheeler, things like that. Roadside cleanup, they're very easy to use them for that, where employees can get out, pick up the debris, put it in the back of the truck, and then keep moving. If you do that with a 10-wheeler, you generally need equipment to get it up over and into the bed. So it's more of the utility construction type projects.
Put dump on it as well?
Yes. Budget summary this year, requesting one support staff to help manage increases for grant funding projects, CIP funding. All equipment purchases that I have proposed tonight align with our 5-year CIP plan that we put together and update annually. The pavement preservation projects have all been selected and aligned with the recent pavement condition index assessment that we performed. And for weeds, the equipment requests also align with the 5-year CIP plan that they have put together. And staffing levels and funding requested is consistent with the department needs in the previous budget years. So it's fairly static. They're not really asking for more money or less money. Treatment projects, this is a list of the preservation projects that we will be doing in-house or hiring contractors. They're the smaller end of the projects. We've got Ophir Canyon, Saddleback, Bates Canyon, which is the east side of SR 36, Penny Lane, again, various roads in Lake Point and Erta, which will be the various preservation treatments. They're less expensive. Meadow Lane, chip seal, Sagewood, high density mineral bond, and then QSE for all chip seal projects. As far as the resurfacing projects, which are the 2-inch overlay that we are proposing, one of the roads is Center Street, that's in Lake Point, that's about 1 mile from Canyon heading south. Hardy Way is a road that goes up over I-80 there off of SR 36. Middle Canyon will be from basically the golf course to the entrance gate. South Willow, Mormon Trail to the canyon. North Willow, similar. Burmester Road is basically the inland port south 2 miles, which will tie us into what we finished or what Rochelle's group finished last year. And Stansbury Island Road, this is just the short section. It's about 2,000 feet long. It's south of the railroad tracks. This is not anything north of the railroad tracks, which is basically the haul road for the gravel pits and the shrimpers and all that kind of stuff. To do that project, you're $6-7 million. So,
Is that all?
yes.
No, was that all the cost?
Yeah, not much. I mean,
$6
you
million.
know, if you're feeling
Any questions or comments for Jed? Councilman Wardle, you're excused.
Just a couple of comments, I guess. Go back to the previous slide, just on the road treatment service, just so that you're aware. These guys do a tremendous job doing a lot of this work in-house. We've had UDOT approach us to do chip seal for them, and we had one of our larger cities in the valley ask us to do the same thing. We've turned them both down because summertime, we're busy enough just doing what we have planned out, but it's just a credit to what these guys do for, they do a great job getting it all set up and all taken care of. Then on the next slide on the resurfacing, typically we don't do this, but as we were looking at the fund balance, we want to start using some of that fund balance in these higher impact or roads that really need to be repaired because they're going to start falling apart. And so we've started putting in about $2 million a year. we could do more, but I would not recommend doing $8 million because then 20 years from now, it comes back due. And so we're just want to, each year, we're going to pick off certain roads that need to be updated and do just a consistent thing for the next 4 or 5 years, and we'll see where we're at that point. So we should be making a pretty big impact this year.
Yeah, for $2 million, each road varies depending on what, how it's constructed and such, but generally speaking, for the $2 million, we'll get to cover about 2 or 10 miles of road, and then that's with the balanced budget, so that's not even biting into the fund balance this year. Once we get that project taken care of and get the ball rolling on that end of it, because it is a new thing that we're taking on within the department, next year, my goal is to be somewhere in the $4 million range, which will take $2 million from the fund balance and add it to our budget. And we should be able to cover, 20 miles of road with that $4 million, and then continue that for the next 3 or 4 years. And by the end of it, I think our roads will be in really, really good shape.
Question?
Please.
Is it, we're able to do all this work because of all the gravels? We're getting sales tax from the gravels being hauled out of here?
It'd be nice, yeah.
Different fund.
Yeah, we have been fortunate to be able to do more with less for the last few years, and it's afforded us a very healthy fund balance, and I think it's now time that we look at giving that back and increasing the level of service that we've been
We
providing.
were able to build the building, get the building built, get equipment where it's not old and dilapidated. So we have a good rolling stock of vehicles now, equipment. And so we're in good shape
Yes.
as far as that goes. And so now we can move on to the.
Yep, we really are. We're in good shape for the next few years, so.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Judd.
Yes, sir.
Emergency services.
Good evening, Council. As I'm sure you're aware, with emergency services, we have, a total of 3 full-time employees for emergency services specifically, and then we have 2 part-time employees for our fire program, being that we have fire warden, fire chief, deputy fire chief, and fire marshal. This year, we do have a new project that we're looking to start. We're calling it a seasonal wildfire development program, where we were requesting 3 to 4 employees to be involved in our fire mitigation and wildfire deployment program. The funding that would be allocated for this is probably familiar to you. Every year, the fact that every year we are required to match a certain portion of the money depending upon the number of wildfires that we've had in prior years. And the funds that would go towards the development of this program would come from that. And then if the opportunity arose, or if the decision was made that we could actually use these teams to deploy out to bring some revenue into the county, that could actually help in offsetting those costs. I do know that we've sent our proposal out to you. Didn't know if there were any questions that came from that, or if you had any follow-up to that. So,
Any questions or comments? Bucky?
What's the season for the seasonal employees? When do they start and when do they?
Yeah, typically that would be from April to October. Okay. Yeah, and their main focus would be, at least early in the season, would be to go out and be involved in the mitigation projects that we right now already spend funds on, with private contractors, and then staff does do some of that as well. Then as the season progressed, they would also be able to take on other responsibilities as far as augmenting the response force should we have large fires. I know that you're all aware of the fact that we have a very robust network of fire agencies that do a great deal for us to make sure that the fires don't get too big. And then if the fires got big, or if there was the demand or the need statewide, then this would be a team that would be qualified to be able to go out and be involved in suppressing fires in other areas, and then bring back some of that revenue as was discussed.
So let me ask you a question. Are they doing it themselves, or are they going out and finding people to mitigate the fire hazards?
They would be responsible for going out and providing a lot of the services with our existing equipment
they're
right
doing it
now.
themselves.
Yeah.
Bucky,
Chief.
just walk through why we would do deployments, and what I always hear from folks say is then, we've sent our crews off and we're not protecting ourselves.
Yeah, so in our case, and with the engine that was purchased and that we are hopefully going to take possession of the first of next year, we would actually have the ability with our existing resources to be able to deploy teams out to fires when they grow in scale, in magnitude, to help with the overall suppression efforts. When those teams go out, they actually provide obviously a cost benefit coming back to us. We would not send a team out if our resources were thin enough, or if we would or do have fire conditions that would not allow us to be able to do that. That would be a judgment call from myself, Chief Walton, and others as to whether or not the team could go out and be eligible. The benefit that we have right now is we've got, as I mentioned, a robust network of response agencies that help us to get on those fires before those fires get too big. We have looked at a variety of different programs that have been very successful with their deployment teams. Our adjacent counties, as a matter of just an example, Juab County did decide that they were going to go down this venture. They did dedicate a crew that went out to a variety of fires, both interstate and intrastate, and ended up with approximately $1 million amount of revenue in one season when those teams went out. And so from a financial standpoint, there is some benefit to us. Does it mean that we have to be very careful when and how we send those teams out? Absolutely we do. And then we also have a balancing act in terms of how, when it's appropriate, when it may not be appropriate, realizing that when they go out for 10 to 14 day deployments, and then they would be back at the same time. Okay, did that meet your expectation? Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Related to our capital improvement projects, or obviously emergency management is requesting some additional thin book computers for the operations room. We currently maintain a shop area that is one of the last areas in the county to have an upgrade of our security door card readers, and so we're looking to do that as well. I know you're all aware that we do maintain all the public safety radio network for the county, and this year we're working very hard with Andy's assistance in trying to get the way that we deal with radios restructured and the way we deal with these towers restructured. We have dishes that are involved in our microwave system that are over 20 years old, which means that they're at the end of their lifespan. We're going to be in need of 2 of those dishes for approximately $55,000. Being that we manage the system, we do have radios that we need to start the upgrade or the change-out process with. And then at each one of these sites, we have propane tanks that have to go through a reconditioning process where they'll need some sandblasting and different types of care. In our fire program, we are at the 2nd year of our request for some additional SCBAs. That will be 5 SCBAs. Right now, we are at end of life on approximately 10 of those, so this would be the second half. We got the first half last year. We also are in need of 5 new sets of turnout clothes for our 4 stations that we provide those supplies for, being the Wendover Airfield, the Terra, Ivapaw, and the South Rim responders at the same time. One big project that we're looking forward to this year is the West Tooele County Feasibility Study. I believe most of you are aware that we've got a challenge as it relates to the Wendover area all the way into milepost 33, to ensure that we have fire services covering those areas. We do right now have gaps. We have times of day when Wendover City is not able to respond effectively to that area, and so we're looking forward to bringing Joe back, or the Center for Public Safety Management back, and having them help us with what we consider to be part 2 of our overall master plan for the county level fire services for Tooele County. And so we're looking forward to that. And then right now, as it was mentioned, with the UTV, we do a lot of mitigation and response related work, all the way from the Great Salt Lake, shores of the Great Salt Lake, up to, obviously the top of our hills. And many times it's not practical for us to be able to get the typical fire truck up these hills, and it involves something with a little better capability, maybe a little smaller, to get into these areas. So, questions on that aspect?
What about Ivapaw? How do, and the tribe out there, you know,
Yeah, just this week, we actually had an outside fire in Ivapaw. We do have a number of volunteer firefighters in the Ivapaw area. Chief Walton is constantly, obviously, trying to make the upgrades to the equipment, or rotating vehicles through that area to make sure that those responders are getting the equipment that they need to be able to provide that service for us. This year, we're actually able to move some vehicles into the Wendover Airfield this year and improve on what equipment is available at the Wendover Airfield, both from a wildland standpoint to respond to that, as well as with a truck that could respond out to the interstate if it's deemed that that's appropriate, as we further study that. So overall, our existing budget for emergency services is reduced by about $150,000. We are asking for an increase because of some of these CIP-related needs that we have, of about $143,000 to the fire budget. Anything, Brittany or Andy, anything you guys would add?
Any other questions or comments on it? We have a second largest county geographically in the state, and that's a lot to cover and to look to what to mitigate, how to do that. And what we've seen in the insurance industry is insurance has gone up substantially because of wildfires.
Yeah.
And then very close to that. So
yeah,
whatever mitigation or controlling factors that you have would be very helpful, I know, to homeowners or to business owners, any kind of property owner. So thank you for looking into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's okay, I'll just take this one from here. I may have to jump back and forth and look at a few things. So on the county manager's budget, we do have just a couple of slight increases. We are taking on the safety committee from the HR department. It's $4,000. It's just being moved from one department to another. We're not requesting any additional personnel. We're in the process of transitioning the purchasing manager position, and we'll need some funds to get a desk for that person, and we need a computer for our admin. Has had serious problems. So,
But you guys can pay for it if you want.
Sounds like it.
The next one is just a short one, and I think Allison went over some of this. The general administration, there's a revenue budget, then an expenditure budget. This is on the expenditure side. This is our professional and technical, the government relations. We did go up on that when we hired the person to represent us on the Mid-Valley, so that is why that's increasing, is that the contract that we have there. Then on the professional consulting services, when we hired a project manager to contract to help us through the peak project specifically right now, but other projects in the future. Instead of hiring a person, we decided to use funds there, and that was one of the better decisions we've made recently, to get somebody, a professional firm that has architects, engineers, and designers to review the plans. That has been money very well spent, and so that's to accommodate that contract that we signed here recently. I'll let Brittany do this one, then I'll jump back and just talk about a couple of other things.
So this is a typo on this slide, I'm sorry. I've requested $200,000 for America 250 for our celebration. That we'll be working with all of the other cities. I have kind of reported to you guys on what we've been doing. I've been working with the other cities on like a community planning committee. So specifically, the county is planning a 2-day county celebration the week before the 4th of July, where we plan on fireworks, food trucks, live music, yard games, just a really fun community event where we bring everyone together. Another thing I'm working on right now is building our adventure app, where this will have, and this has a cost to it, where we'll launch it in January, and we'll encourage people in the public to go and visit all these other events around the communities, or even just, go to a high school football game or hike in this canyon, and they take a picture and it geotags where they're at, and they get points, and we'll make it kind of a little like celebrate the county. We're going to include some of the big events that the state of Utah is putting on there too, and they can get like bonus points at the end. Each family could earn a challenge coin, so it's kind of a fun thing to get people out in the community and celebrating the birthday of this great country we live in. And then just a little bit of money for some limited edition Tooele County commemorative America 250 swag. So it'll be hats, shirts, challenge coins, and lapel pins. So we have a lot of great ideas. We just need a little bit of money to make it happen. And so that's it.
Any questions?
200,000 is a little bit.
What was that?
250,000.
200.
Well, I mean, a fireworks show's quite a lot. And if you're going, it says like the 250th birthday should be like big fireworks.
So much per year.
Well, I mean, I think 200.
$250.
I'll do the sparklers then.
I'm not saying it's just a little bit, but this is like a nationwide thing. So I want our county to look like we're like really contributing. We did get $5,000 from the state, so.
There you go.
I did make sure we got our $5,000, so.
And just quickly on a couple other budgets, some of them we've just briefly discussed, like the Council of Governments, whatever was approved with COG this year, that's what we're forwarding into that budget. And we're still in pretty good shape, but that's a discussion that we'll need to have going forward, of course. Natural Resources is a really small budget, and they had just minor increases, I think less than $1,000. Brittany, is that, if I'm not mistaken, between the two items?
Yeah, there was an increase in, the beekeeper asked for a little bit of a raise.
Like $300?
And then there's a % increase that goes to the cloud seeding contract that we have. And so that was a little bit bump in the cloud seeding.
Then the other one is the capital projects, and we've discussed most of the things. I just want to highlight a couple that maybe we haven't discussed yet. Let me just quickly look, make sure. A lot of the things, some of them are just grants. We've talked about 33rd Parkway. Jason mentioned a lot of facility projects, which we include in there. We discussed last time about with the sheriff about his training building to put some money in to do a study this next year, so that will be included. We do water tanks for Shambic Water Tank. We've done that. This will be the 4th year. I think we planned on doing 5 years, and so that's just at $20,000 per year. We have some funds there that we had to use for IBAPA. And then, of course, we have Desert Peak. The Peak is the big one right now that once we have our contract, or the plans being reviewed, and so we'll be getting that out to Strong, who does our construction, for them to review here pretty soon. So we're very close on that. By the end of the month. As we discussed briefly last time as well, when we looked at our fund balance for the general fund is getting large and we need to transfer some money. That's something we'll need to look at, and typically we transfer that money, that excess that we cannot keep in the general fund, to the capital projects fund, and so there'll be an amount that we need to decide how much that is. And one other thing that I added in there, just as a recommendation, this year we completed a master plan for Middle Canyon, to do a trail up Middle Canyon. And that was working with Rio Tinto, actually would do some of the work up top from where the road ends, the paved road ends, kind of up to the peak there. They would install part of the trail there, but we would be doing the rest all the way back down. We'd like to connect it all the way to Skyline, to the road, to where it comes up to a subdivision. So we had an estimate of about $500,000 to $600,000 to do a trail all the way up Middle Canyon. Currently, we don't have anything. If there is, it's way up top, and it's on federal land, or it's on some of the Rio Tinto's land. So those are the types of things that we put in our capital projects. We can go deeper into that. I just like to mention, because we've talked about probably 3/4 of those already, but that encapsulates a lot of the funding requests. The last one that we will need to have more discussion on is with our TRT funds. Now that we don't have Country Fan Fest here, there are some funds that we had allocated for that contract, $300,000 for marketing and $300,000 for projects. We haven't reallocated that yet. That's a discussion that we need to have. I mean, we talked about whether we put some money in there for historic or for museums, if we dedicate some money. I know when we discussed it earlier with the marketing is having a separate contract with the newspaper as opposed to that funding going through the TRT board. If we do that, we'd have to have a contract. We need to create a line item. So those are some discussions that there's some unknowns right now with that budget just because of the contract, the status of that contract. But there are funds there. There's a fund balance there in both sides. But the state has changed the laws that we need to make sure that we're aware of exactly what we can do. And so that we're still examining right now. Any questions on any of those?
No.
Can I do your budget then?
What's that?
Can I do your budget, the council's budget? The net is going down 10%. When we bought a vehicle last year and we had some funding to do some renovations, we didn't have to do very much. And so the net budget for the council is down 10%. Any questions on that one?
No, where it should be trending. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one question though, before?
You can ask it.
I know. So we will have a budget discussion next week at our regular meeting. We need to know which topics or items you want us to be prepared to discuss further. And so if you can get those questions, I mean, we can look at personnel, we can look at projects, whatever you like to discuss, but if you can give us an idea of what you would like, then we can be prepared to have that discussion kind of going forward.
My 2 cents is, I don't want to go through line by line. I think there's a lot of consensus. We can just move through quicker rather than going line item by line item by line item. I hate meetings.
We didn't know that.
Big picture.
What are you doing in government then?
Cutting.
Did you have a question?
I can anticipate the question if you want to come up and ask it as well. So you tell me if I get the wrong question. You know, traditionally we try to approve the budget the first meeting in December, and we'd have to make the decisions next week if we were going to meet that deadline. We may have to have additional meetings if we can't get to that point. Is that?
Yep.
Okay. Hear a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those may oppose. We are adjourned.